A Quiet Place Part 2 is the latest release from Paramount Pictures. The follow-up to 2018's surprise hit, it stars Emily Blunt, Noah Jupe, Millicent Simmonds and Cillian Murphy. Before we get into this, don't forget to hit that like button down below. It does wonders in getting my content out there. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to keep up to date with all my content. But be very quiet about it. The monsters will get you. Shh. They're here. And I can guarantee you I am not the only idiot who has done that gag on YouTube for this movie. Let's get into the review. Following the events of the first movie, the Abbott family now face the terrors of the outside world. Forced to venture into the unknown, they realise the creatures that hunt by sound are not the only threats lurking beyond the sound path. Now, sequels are an incredibly hard thing for a filmmaker to just nail. I mean, how many have we seen over the years that are nothing but a shell of the previous film? And I don't think that this statement could be any truer for any other genre than horror. I mean, this is a genre that is ripe for exploitation, for plundering. I mean, think of the horror greats like Friday the 13th or Halloween, movies like this, and that have had tens of dozens of sequels, and it's very, very rare that one of those is anywhere near as good as the first movie. A Quiet Place was the breakthrough smash hit of 2018. I don't think anyone expected that it was going to be as good or as successful as it did end up being. And of course, because it was so successful, it has fallen for that trap that so many horror movies do fall for, and that is that it has been given a sequel. Okay, I'm probably doing a disservice to these movies by just flatly labeling them horror. They appear that way on the surface, but they are so much more underneath. These movies offer, I would say they're probably more thriller over horror, but they offer these really beautiful human stories. And that is where this second movie really, really excels. John Krasinski, with this movie, has proven himself to be a master of storytelling. He is so much more confident here than he was in the first movie as far as his storytelling prowess and his work with the camera, the way that he sets up his visual lens for this universe. This is a movie that just feels so organic. It's such an organic follow-up to the first, and it's always really wonderful when you've got the same filmmakers, the same creative team behind. This is not a sequel that has been hastily thrown together by the studio to make a quick buck. This is certainly a movie that has been given the time and love that it needs to kind of exist again as an organic entry into what is probably going to be a grander franchise, but also to kind of stand on its own. The real focus of this movie in particular is the story of these people. And as this family kind of moves out into the world, without spoiling too much, we do get a lot more focus on the grander effects of the events that have happened and how they have not just affected this family, but have affected other people that may still be surviving out there in the world. So Krasinski opens up this story that does incredible world building. Is the second movie as good as the first? It's really hard to say, but I absolutely loved it. I thought that this is a movie that it lives up to the first movie, and in certain elements it does outdo it. Like I said, the filmmaking prowess that Krasinski brings to this film outdoes anything that he brought to the first movie. You kind of get a feeling after watching this one that Krasinski was playing it a little bit safe with the first film. It was his first major film as a director. This movie here, he's not afraid to take risks with his storytelling and with the way he uses his visual lens. He takes so many big hits in this movie and he knocks them all out of the park. Absolutely every single risk that he makes here pay off in a very, very big way. Now, a lot of people are also going to be asking, is this movie as scary as the first? Is it as terrifying? I would say yes, but in a different way. That first movie was so ingenious in its use of sound. It was essentially a silent movie where you didn't see the threat, you didn't see the villain, the monsters until almost the very end, until the last act of the movie. A lot of the thrills, the terror that you get from that first movie are in anticipation of seeing the monster. You really don't get that view, and that's the frightening thing. It's like, oh my god, where is this thing? What is this thing? What's it gonna do when it finally shows up? Of course, by the end of that movie, we have seen the monster. So this movie opens up with a sequence where the monsters are just kind of there, and we now accept that this is the monster. We know what they look like, we know what their game is, we know what they're capable of. So this movie now doesn't really have that sense of suspense, of waiting like, oh, what's gonna happen? What this movie offers is like a psychological terror where you are just hoping these people can survive. This is a story of survival. This is a story where we know everything that's happening, and because we do, we're frightened for these people because we know what these monsters are capable of. We're now in this situation where we're like, okay, we're here with you, just get out, just go and just survive, do what you gotta do. And in that, there are so many terrifying moments. And I think, yeah, again, it's really great that this movie is kind of a reinvention of itself, because it does everything that the first movie does, but it does it in a different way. It brings these new elements to the story. It brings new ways that you are frightened. It brings new ways that you can connect with these characters and connect with the world as well. And this, in essence, really, the more I talk about this, the more I think that this is really like a perfect sequel. Emily Blunt delivers an absolutely superb performance as always. She takes the terror from that first film and amps it up, but also injects a lot more heart and a lot more soul. She is now the head of the family. She is the one who's having to look after not only the two kids, but a new baby as well. Without John Krasinski there, this family dynamic has really changed, and Emily Blunt really steps up to deliver just this really stellar performance. The two kids, of course, Noah Jupe and Millicent Simmonds, are terrific as well. These two kids are going to be absolute superstars in Hollywood, mark my words, because they really deliver in this movie. Krasinski has put more of a focus on them this time. They come from the back to the front to really take the forefront of a lot of this film, again without spoiling too much. Cillian Murphy is here as well. He kind of takes on the Krasinski role in this movie, the kind of de facto dominant male role of the film, but it is a very different character to Krasinski's. This is a broken man who is a family friend of this family. They come into contact with him and discover that he has been affected in completely different ways than they have been, but their story is very much the same as well. And this is just a shell of a human being, and Cillian Murphy just absolutely delivers in spades in this really beautifully introspective, layered and troubled character. And overall, I really loved this movie. And I think the more I think about it, the more I talk about it, the more I do love it. This is a really, really superb sequel. This is one of the best sequels I have seen for a long time. Not only because it re-delivers on everything that the first movie delivered on, but it delivers in new ways. It reinvents itself and is not scared to go in new directions, as I said. John Krasinski has proven himself to be an incredibly competent filmmaker and storyteller. He's not afraid to take some big risks that he does in this movie, and the great thing is they all pay off. And with that, I am happy to be giving A Quiet Place Part 2 a 4.5 out of 5. A Quiet Place Part 2 is a stellar piece of filmmaking from John Krasinski, who proves himself as a master of storytelling, once again delivering an intense, gripping and truly frightening film with a wonderfully heartfelt story. This is a movie that lives up to the original in almost every way possible. The movie officially opens in Australian cinemas on the 26th of May, but if you do want to see it just a little bit earlier, you can catch some advanced screenings happening over the weekend of the 21st to the 23rd. The movie opens exclusively to theatres in the US and the UK on the 27th. Thanks to Paramount Pictures Australia and the incredible team handling their PR for inviting me along to this fantastic early screening of A Quiet Place Part 2 for the purposes of this review right here. And thanks everybody out there for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy. Hey everyone, if you haven't yet, smash that big old subscribe button up on your screen to keep up to date with all my content, and hit that like button down below. Also, don't forget to check me out on social media, and please consider supporting me over on Patreon for as little as $1 a month for exclusive videos, early access content, and to get your name up on the screen. Thanks again for watching.